What's up you guys, it's 2Bricks and I'm back with another video today to show you guys kind of a interesting sort of hobby project that I've decided to take on for myself, and that is to redesign my ultimate playset scale Millennium Falcon, which you can see here is in pretty bad shape right now. I've actually ripped off a lot of pieces, and a lot of the tiles and things that were on here making it look a little smoother have been stripped away because I'm using them for other things. But essentially this is the core shell of my ultimate playset scale Millennium Falcon. And I'm still really proud of this model, and I think if you guys have the model at home, hopefully you're happy with it as well. I really kind of tried to put as much of I don't know, I guess accuracy and play features and full interior and all those things that I really wanted to have on my regular playset scale Falcon, and I feel like they just never were able to deliver on. And so yeah, I'm still really happy with the model, and just one of the things that started to bug me over time is, well actually a few things, is the kind of prevalence of a lot of studded areas, a lot more than I would like to see, and the inaccuracy of the scale of this cockpit versus the rest. As I start to look at it more and more, it starts to bug me, you know, the more that I see it. And let me just kind of swivel this around for you guys and show you. The whole kind of size of this should be probably, I don't know, maybe 2/3 of what it is in order to really scale properly to the rest of this model. And then once that started to catch my eye and annoy me, other little things that I had to compromise on or that I wasn't able to quite get right started to bug me as well. And then eventually it just kind of cascaded into, well, I guess I should redesign or design a new Millennium Falcon to kind of be my benchmark ultimate collector's scale but smaller set. And so that's what I've started doing. I've just started tinkering around with the design, and what I decided to do this time is set myself a new set of parameters. So where this was trying to stick to the same scale as Lego's, roughly to Lego's playset scale models, what I've done is I've decided to take this cockpit piece and scale the rest of the model up to this so that it fits correctly with this pre-made cockpit piece. So that's why I've ripped the cockpit off of this, because I've used it for the new model, which I'll be showing you the progress of in a minute. And so my goal here is to do periodic kind of reviews every so often to show you guys the progress of what I'm doing with my Falcon model. I really want to take my time with it and just have fun, and just really, it's like a stress reliever project for me right now, because life is very busy and intense, and I just want something that I can relax and go and, you know, come step into my Lego room and just work on a model without any real pressure. I've kind of given up on finishing up any of the many large-scale projects that I had for 2Bricks anytime soon, just because I have such sporadic little bits of time here and there. And so what I wanted to do is be able to put those little bits of time into something large-scale that can eventually show you guys a finished model of. Of course, with that, there will be new instructions and everything available that will become my kind of new standard Millennium Falcon model. I don't think this is going to go anywhere, because this serves its purpose as a smaller scale model. But my aim is to kind of take every single element of it that I liked and improve upon it, and take all the elements I didn't like and fix them. So I'll show you guys what I've been working on next, and then we'll just kind of yeah, kind of see where it's at. It is a mess right now. I normally don't show things this early on, but I just wanted to take a break from just kind of tinkering around with it and just give you guys a look. So let's take a look. All right, so one of the first things that I did, or the first thing I did when I wanted to take on this project, was I found a bunch of different blueprints and pictures of the Falcon from a top-down view, different kind of variations of it. Found those online, and I scaled them with the cockpit piece, you know, the prefabricated Lego cockpit piece, being roughly kind of in line with, I went off of the width, and I wanted this corridor to scale to that. So the windshield portion, this piece that Lego makes, is too long technically, and so I'm already set up for failure, aren't I? But the idea was I wanted to take the overall, the round, the circumference here, which, you know, this kind of 8-stud wide circle, and I wanted to apply that to this corridor length here, so that the tube would at least appear to be roughly in scale with the rest of the model. So Once I found a bunch of different blueprints, so obviously this one shows the interior. There's ones here that show the, this is the reference photos that came with the Bandai Perfect Grade Millennium Falcon. There's all different ones here. Sorry, they're kind of at an angle, so it's a little warped. It's kind of touching up against my wall here. But I lined them all up in Photoshop, and I scaled them all so that the cockpit fit in the way that I was happy with it. And then so the rest of the model I know is to scale with that. So that was the whole kind of idea here. And so once I had that, I printed these out, large scale paper, and then glued them together to create my sort of rough blueprints here. This is the bottom side. And then that has given me a really good guide as far as the overall kind of size of everything. And what I started to realize, this is kind of my full progress so far, what I started to realize is how many things line up absolutely perfectly at this scale once I did that scale up. I'll show you guys some of the different kind of comparisons of things, but I really couldn't believe, it was almost like Lego, when they made this cockpit piece, thought about all of these other things, and it's probably a coincidence, but how many things kind of line up with Lego numbers, I guess. For example, the size of that dish, it's now using, instead of the 6x6 dish that I had on the old one over here, I'm using this 8x8 dish. And if I line this up to the drawings, it's exactly perfectly the correct size, which is really awesome. And the same thing happened with the docking ring here, which is newly designed. This 8x8 circle just perfectly fits. And of course it makes sense, right? The corridors of the Falcon in the real world, they wanted them to all feel kind of uniform. So there's a lot of different areas, and they kind of went off of the same measurement. So it makes sense, right? And so now I don't have to worry about a lot of things being like way undersized on the body versus the cockpit, and I can truly see the size that things are, and that's really, really cool. And this is what I'm going to be using for the back vents, those the six fan vent thingies that you see on the back here. These are just the exact perfect size, and then I can kind of hook them into the back panel here this way with these Technic pins and these little modified plates. And then I'll find a 3x3, probably use those 3x3 discs to fill this hole, and that'll make for a really nice solution for those fans back there. This is the 6x6 TIE Fighter dish, and it's just slightly oversized for the look that I'm going for. But if you think about the inner frame of where this is printed to, that inner frame where the clear actually begins is actually pretty much exactly perfect for the gunner seat. So I'm going to end up using this solution here for the top and bottom gunners, and I'm going to be inverting those so that they're like the real Falcon. They have the kind of, the dish sits inwards like that. And because these have a handy dandy little bar attachment here, I'll be able to attach those way easier, because on my previous one, I was using these 4x4 dish pieces, and I was just holding them in place with friction. Sorry, my parts are starting to get a little loose over time, so some of these things will pop off. But yeah, I was just using friction to hold those in place, and a lot of people were reporting issues with that, with these falling out because they didn't have the right pieces. We won't have to worry about any of that because, yeah, this is just going to be clipped into place. So that's going to be awesome. That'll sit right under here. And you can see here I've made a pretty good start on the frame. I'm actually going to flip this over and show you guys the actual underside, which I've detailed up pretty nicely so far. And then, oh, and these are the new cannon designs, which I've been able to incorporate these side arms, which are much more accurate, and then it can rotate around the cannon here, and then that can actually rotate side to side as well, because this part here is jointed as well. So you'll have pretty much realistic to the actual Falcon range of motion for the cannons here, which is going to be really nice. So those are the ones that sit here at the top and bottom of the ship. So I have two of them here, slightly asymmetrical in their design only from the colors. And then here we have what's going to become the new mandible designs. And one thing I'm doing a little bit differently, let me actually bring back the drawing to show you. So one thing I'm going to be doing slightly differently this time around is I'm going to be creating the top surface of the mandibles at an angle like this, where the flat part is on the outside, whereas on my previous model it would have been like this. And the reason for that is that there's just really no good way to get the spacing of that and use the same technique with these slopes that are the exact right angle to be able to fit in. But if I flip it this way, what it enables me to do then is to have the docking rings be at the right angle and then build up to the point there, and then I'll just have kind of different techniques to essentially clamp the side detailing on, which is kind of similar to what I ended up doing here anyway. These side panels were attached separately, and then those just hug up against the brick-built frame. It'll be hugging up against this flat side, and then we'll have the interior walls here will just be up against this sloped surface. So I think that's going to work out really well, and it just gives you the exact, see what I'm talking about here with this, how it just feels like it was made for it. Like these new arch pieces allow for this to be exactly how I want it to be. So that's so perfect. Let me show you a couple of other instances where I just couldn't believe how well it lined up. So here, I'll just put the cannons in place here so you can see that's pretty much spot on. And then we have what I was talking about with these back vents right here. And then the dish, oh, actually, let me pull up the drawing underneath, and I'll show you guys some of the other things that just are insanely coincidental. So you can see here, this shape of tile right here or a plate is exactly a match for this right here, which is just nuts. So that just fits in there, absolutely spot on. Couldn't believe it. And then this gap right here, or these panels of greebling that go all the way down the sides here are exactly 3 plates tall. So that's going to give me a standard for that, which is going to be really nice. They look a little shorter here because the top and bottom panels kind of sit over them a little bit, but they are this thickness the whole way through, which is going to be, like I said, 3 studs. And then, yeah, here's the dish, the rectenna, and boom. I mean, look at that. Absolutely perfect. So I'm just giddy with how well all of this is working out so far, and just the ability to really be able to get this correctly scaled this time, and it's going to be just phenomenal. So yeah, I can't wait to finish it up and be able to show it to you guys. It's going to be great. Oh yeah, another thing that I love is down here, this ramp. There's a piece that exists. Hold on, let me grab one. Yeah, so there's a piece that exists here that is designed essentially like it was made for this ramp, right? Because there's a section where the bottom of this cutout hexagon shape comes down with the ramp, and I mean, again, how much more perfect could you ask it to be, right? That is like, yeah, it's great. So these legs end up being exactly 4 studs wide or 4 studs long, and just, you know, there are so many instances like that all over the ship, and yeah, it's just absolutely perfect. So let me show you some of the other things that I've done on the actual frame itself, and then we'll kind of wrap this up for today, and then we'll take a look at the next thing. Oh yeah, I actually brought one of these out to show you guys. Again, it's like Lego was designing these parts with this exact model in mind. So yeah, just crazy. So yeah, let me show you guys the frame, and then we'll get to the wrap up. All right, so here it is from the underside. And so one of my goals this time around is to really get all of the shape of the different boxes and the areas where the landing gear come out of to be exactly correct. And then I really want to capture that domed feeling on the underside of this, which I did not really capture in my model. Was a lot more kind of flat and boxy, and just relied on some sloped pieces down there, mainly because of the size restrictions. But for this being able to be the exact correct size that it's supposed to be, I can kind of mix in these areas where it's upside down, you know, right side up, and all those kind of different things, and I can just create these angled panels here that just kind of perfectly help me to capture that rounded look that I'm looking for. And then also I haven't really applied much of the detailing in different areas where there's supposed to be panels of different colors. Like I have a few spots here with the red and you know, the sand blue, but yeah, I haven't really started diving into that yet. I'm mainly focused on big kind of shapes and understanding how all of this is going to connect together. And so that's where I'm at so far. This is the side which will have the landing ramp. I'll show you that in a second. And then here I have these pieces in place just to keep the landing gear from retracting while I'm working on it. And I think I'm actually going to incorporate that as a feature for the model. I'm going to have these full-scale panels that just cover over where the landing gear sit. So we have these ones with, you know, minimal studs on, or, you know, minimal, yeah. And then those will just kind of sit in place here and just keep the landing gear from accidentally disengaging, but they are all retractable as before. And they have a much more accurate shape and design. Let me actually just flip this back over and show you the design of that a little bit better, because I'm actually really happy with how those turned out. So let's flip this over. So yeah, here you can see the design for the 5 landing feet. They're not all 100% completed yet, like I have a couple of odd missing parts here or there, but you have the disc, you have the foot that has the kind of X shape, or the plus sign shape, I guess, where it gets wider in the middle there, and you have the 2 that are attached in the back, and then the front ones that are just individuals. And I'm just super thrilled with how those look, because I think that they're just perfect shape-wise. And then they just tuck up into the body. Oh, I actually have the cheater piece on there, but you trust me, they tuck up nice and fully. And I have a few gaps here where those will kind of protrude ever so slightly, and then I'll just have to raise the floor here and cover over those areas a little bit there. But yeah, really, really happy with how that's turning out so far. So the idea is going to be that I'm going to do the whole floor black like this, and then I'm going to have plate detailing over the top. And the reason for that, the reason I'm not just doing the tiles and stuff straight onto the surface of this, is because I want to get these larger plates that have a lot of surface area that really help to tie together areas of the Technic structure that it's fairly strong, but then once you lock it in place with these larger plates, it becomes really, really strong. So that's the whole idea behind that. So I'll have the actual floor surface will be slightly above this area right here. And then one of the big features that I really want to incorporate with this model is a proper landing ramp that is going to have a geared mechanism to it. So I've already figured out the kind of piston actuators and stuff for that. And then I have this little toothed piece right here, which is going to activate against a gear, which will go somewhere. I'm not exactly sure yet, but the gear will rotate, and that will, force the landing ramp up and down. And that's going to just be exactly the right kind of shape and feel for this, and I'm really, really excited for it. So this is going to be, much, much more accurate to the model than the previous landing ramp that I had, which was just a square plate that would just kind of come down, or a rectangular plate, on a hinge. This is going to be 1,000 times more accurate, and it's all thanks to the larger scale enabling me to do that. So I'm really, really happy with that. And I'm also going to have to figure out later on which are the areas that I want to leave kind of hollow for things like the maintenance pits in the ground, the smuggling compartments and things, where those are all going to go exactly. The interior is going to be, much truer, or true as possible to the real thing, because I have the layout and everything figured out from my drawings. But I'm going to be emphasizing certain areas, like I'm going to definitely minimize the cargo rooms, and I'm going to maximize the lounge area, since that's like, what we know most of all about the Falcon. That's the kind of place where most of the action takes place. But I am going to still try to honor the positions of everything. I'm going to try to really capture that ring corridor in the center, that corridor that comes out to the cockpit and all that stuff. So that's going to be really cool. And so the one area that I would consider to be fairly complete on this is my newly designed cockpit here. I did change it up ever so slightly since taking it off of my other Falcon. So let me show you what's going on the interior of that. So like before, I have a roof here that can spin up like that, and allows you access to the back seats for your figures. And this cockpit just attaches with this dome piece at the front, which is unchanged from the previous design. And then here we can see we have 4 seats, which are redesigned to be much more screen accurate to the Millennium Falcon. I'm particularly going for the Empire Strikes Back era. So we have these really tall navigator chairs at the back that have the kind of very specific look to them, with these little parts that kind of curve over the top and sort of cover over the characters' heads. And then I put some a lot more kind of transparent blue and red pieces in here to show off the kind of the lighting of the consoles and everything like that. And I wanted to make sure, of course, I keep the nav computer back here, that kind of red eye, the L3 computer eye. So yeah, I tried to really maintain all of that, but to try to let a lot of color come through with these transparent, plates back here, which I think helps to give it that lit up look, which I really like. And if you ever do end up putting lights in your Falcon, you can kind of arrange some back here to really show that off, and I think it'll give it a really nice look. And then up the front here, we have a redesigned hyperdrive console, and also it's redesigned so that the figures actually do stud into their seats properly, kind of from the top. Whereas previously I had some studs that were facing sideways that were kind of attached to this hyperdrive console, and you would press your figure's feet into that. Here I just have a much more traditional plated setup, because I just redesigned and rethought the way that all of this kind of comes together. And I think it looks really good. I think it works out great. And here we have the hyperdrive lever. It's only one lever this time around, but versus the film prop where it's like, I think 3 or 4 different levers here that they all push at once, you know, kind of do that weird hand thing to grab all of them at once. But I think that this works out well enough to give you an indication of what it's meant to be. And then here we have the 2 just little steering yokes that the characters can pilot the ship on. So I think that works out really well, and I think versus the other cockpit, the color scheme is much more consistent. It's much more accurate to the actual on-screen model. I have the kind of just standard dark gray for the ground and then the tan for the seat backs, and I think that that kind of ties it all together really nicely. And I have the more narrow seat backs as well versus the old design where I had larger 2x slopes in the back for the seat backs, and then up here there were no seat backs for the front seats at all. So this is really an improvement, I think, in terms of what you can do with the space and the ease of placing figures in there. And I think it looks really good as well. So really, really screen accurate, and I'm really happy with that. And it just, the sheer amount of buttons and controls and lights and things, I think just works really well. And yeah, look at that, the look back there with the red and blue, I love that. So yeah, so I think this works out really great, and I'm super excited to continue. These new pieces back here, the angle that these sloped or wedge plates provide you is the perfect match to line up if you have 2 of them back to back, to marry the 2, kind of the cockpit to the corridor there. And so I'm going to be experimenting with a lot of different ways to bridge this gap really, really seamlessly in here. And that's something that I'm really hoping to try to work on, because the previous one, as in pretty much all official LEGO Millennium Falcons, was a little bit clunky in the way that it connected. So that's something I'm hoping to really, really tidy that up for this version. So yeah, that's really about all there is to see today on the progress on this. Don't expect review or new episodes or editions of this every week or 2 or even every month. I'm really not sure how long they'll be. This is, like I said, something that I'm doing in my spare time for fun, and it happens to coincide with 2 bricks and kind of you know, be something that you guys are interested in too. But I'm really not trying to rush myself. I really want this to be perfect, and I really want to not stress out about it. So that's kind of where I'm at, and hopefully you guys are enjoying getting to kind of take a look at this so far. I think I really do think this is going to be a fantastic model if I can really achieve all of the things that I want to. It's going to be one of those where it still isn't minifig scale, it still isn't absolutely gigantic, it's not going to take up your whole entire house. You don't need a dedicated coffee table just for this. It will still be swishable if I have my way. I'm pretty sure that I can pull that off, and but it'll have a greatly expanded interior and just be a lot of fun to interact with. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed taking a look at this today. Sorry it's in such a weird kind of incomplete state. It really does give me a lot of anxiety to show you guys things that are this messy. I know that I've done builds where I kind of, like with the Aqua 10s, I show you literally from the first but like with the Aqua 10s, that one is kind of difficult because I had to kind of shoot while I build and show you guys every kind of stage of it. So planning all that is a lot more difficult. This, I think, we'll just do it a lot more casually, and I'll just kind of work on some things, and I'll give you an update when I think it's worthy of an update. So I think that's going to work out a lot better. So yeah, thanks again for watching, you guys. If you made it all the way to the end of this rambly, directionless video, I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll have some progress on this to show you relatively soon. I also have another video coming out relatively soon, which will show you the Omega and AZ3 builds that I had for my, oh my goodness, my words, where have all my words gone? So for my Havoc Marauder, those are the additional characters. I did do a Let's Build video for that. That's going to be up fairly soon. And just for you guys who did purchase the Marauder, I wanted to make sure that you have the ability to add those. So look out for that one soon, and thanks again for watching. So I'll see you on the next one, and may the Force be with you.